listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's The Real Housewives of Orange County After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's The Real Housewives of Orange County After Show.
Cheers.
Ladies.
Ladies and Grant.
Is this all vodka or is this watered down? Is it a half a shot? What is it?
It's a Shannon half a shot.
It's a swoosh of vodka. The rest is soda, I promise.
Welcome, everyone, to the Real Housewives of Orange County After Show, Season 9, Episode 10, Skunk in the Barnyard. Barnyard, my Rhode Island accent.
Barnyard.
Barnyard.
Skunk in the barnyard.
I'm your host. Grant Rutter. And with me tonight, my two beautiful co-hosts.
Hello, it's Tiffany here.
Hi, I'm Sterling.
And we're ready to go. Where are we going? But let's get this started. Such a mess with this one email that was sent that Shannon's husband sent off camera, and it just spiraled out of control. Shannon received a text message when she was talking to Tamra, kind of bonding with her, really letting it all hang out for being on TV, just really opening up. She got this text message that was shocking, that apparently Heather Dubrow is talking about her email.
Now, who could have let the birdie out of the bag? So it got back to her from her husband, David, that Heather Dubrow was in a restaurant talking amongst friends about the email that David sent to Shannon.
I just want to know how David found out about it.
That is odd. Like, he just happens to be at the same restaurant as Heather. We never find that out.
I don't find him to be one of the biggest social creatures of
exactly
all time.
Yeah.
But even still, we find out later that Heather admits to Lizzie, we'll get into that later, about how she did kind of gossip about it at a restaurant after she found out from Tamra. So unless David was at that table, I don't know how else he would have found out about it.
Especially with an 8 o'clock bedtime.
Right.
At this point, just with her sitting across from Tamra and learning about this text message, do we feel bad for Shannon?
Yes.
I feel like we feel bad for Shannon the whole season, though.
Yeah.
Because she's always crying, always in the state of,
But I feel like last week you had a different opinion about Shannon. I feel like you didn't feel too bad.
There I go again, taking the guy's side. Yeah.
She does this a lot.
I felt bad for her this time because she was such in shambles. And then I felt even worse for her because in the back of my mind, when she was telling Tamra about this whole ordeal, I had reservations because I know that Tamra runs her mouth a lot. So it's like one of those things that you can see coming back to bite her.
At the same time, I don't think Tamra's intentions were bad with Shannon. I think that she really does feel bad for Shannon and can kind of relate to her because she's been through it. She's had the same problems that Shannon's having. But I always feel really bad for Shannon. She always just is so fragile, and if you look at her eyes, it just looks like she's about to break down at any moment.
I want to take her to lunch. I really do.
Yeah.
I feel like she needs someone to talk to, and she's opening up to Tamra, especially on camera, saying all of this stuff. She desperately needs somebody to talk to. I'm wondering if this is someone who's close with her mother, or maybe has a sister or a sister-in-law, or even a cousin that she can really bounce things off of, because doing it on a reality show with the woman you met in production is just not something you should be doing.
Yeah. She definitely seems like she's very lonely and doesn't have much of a support system at all, even from her husband or family. I don't know. This seems like pretty much it for her.
Now that you mentioned that she has done this publicly on a reality show, it makes me wonder what all the fuss is about anyway. Why does she care that Heather Dubrow is talking about it when she's talking about it on this reality show?
When it's going to come out sooner or later.
Exactly. I think So the face that Tamra had when she found out that Heather was talking about it was kind of like a oh snap moment. Like she went into defense mode. Like I don't know why she knows. I didn't say anything to anyone.
She completely had
She
no ownership
completely
over it.
denied it. And I believed her then too, even though because that conversation with Heather, it was kind of she admitted that it went off. It was going what she said exactly was off camera. Later we heard that. So I don't know. I believe Tamra, but then obviously, you know,
I had a
who
hunch
can
the
we
whole
trust?
time. I was like, wait, you know, but I thought maybe, excuse me, we'll get to this point, but I thought when Heather sat down with Shannon, when Shannon kind of stormed the gates of the Dubrow mansion, and she said basically, she was like, yeah, I heard this, that you knew about this. She's like, well, Tamra told you. You heard it from Tamra? And I thought that was her trying to, like, bring Tamra into it when really it was somebody else that told her. That was my perception at the time.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. There's so many interlopers. There's production. There's all these people on the outside. Apparently, Heather's friends know Shannon.
Right. Do you think that Shannon, when Tamra denied telling Heather, do you think Shannon really believed her, or do you think she was suspicious?
I think she had to be suspicious because she knew that she had only told maybe one or two people.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it has to be Tamra at this point. But I think she's also so shaken up that she's not putting two and two together. Like, it's Tamra's her friend. She wants to give her the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
I just feel it's so strange that Shannon we don't see her. No, there's no other friends in her circle.
I know. We don't see any relatives or anything.
I mean, this really like shattering moment happens, and she's telling somebody she's met maybe for a few months at this point. We don't have anybody else.
But like Tamra said, they are kindred spirits. And I think there was also a part of this conversation that we'll get to that didn't go so well with Tamra comparing how their drinking habits are the same and their same state of shambles in their relationship.
At the same time, I get that they're kindred spirits, and I get that Tamra and Heather also have a separate relationship that's been going on a lot longer than hers and Shannon. So it's kind of like, where does that loyalty lie with Tamra? But at the same time, you don't go and tell this person, Heather, you know, this person she's obviously has a weird relationship with Shannon. They're obviously kind of her enemies in a way, that she thinks she has a drinking problem. She thinks she, you know, is shattering into a million pieces. Like, it's just, you don't want to give someone who you know is your friend's enemy any more ammunition that they need.
And Tamra said that they were enemies. She used that word. So.
And just more of an excuse for Heather to go and talk about Shannon behind her back, or to use this kind of against her.
Now, was it strange that Shannon went to Heather's house to have a conversation?
I think it definitely was strange. It was like late at night after dinner, obviously, and she's like in shambles, going to go and settle something, you know? And I knew it was a bad idea.
I think it's strange, but at the same time, I think this is obviously, she's not going to get any sleep that night without confronting it, first of all. And then second of all, I mean, the whole, when they had the whole hoedown party and everything, they came to the conclusion that if something's going on, let's bring it up face to face, let's take care of it right then and there. So I think that, you know, it wasn't completely uncalled for Shannon to go over there so that they can settle this situation. But at the same time, I don't know if Shannon was going there to settle something as much as she was just to get information.
I know she showed up unannounced, which is like a no-no, especially when you're not friends with someone.
Right. Yeah.
I thought it was good of her, and I had a respect for her for doing it, because, and people will probably disagree with me, I'm sure, because not everyone's the hugest fan of Shannon, but someone who's been rejected time and time again by Heather, to go to her house knowing very well that she could just throw you out, and just to try to clear the air, but also in a way kind of confront her about things, is smart. And honestly, that's something that I would do. I really would, because I have to.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a ballsy move, and we've all been there to where if something's really pressing on our minds and something we're really upset about something, or we're just really worried about something, you want to talk about it, you want to get it out there, because just to worry about it longer is wasting time. So
Heather didn't seem too bothered by her at the beginning, because she was hoping for an apology, of course.
Of course she was.
Another apology.
She drives me nuts.
Can anyone even keep track at this point what the hell these people need to apologize for?
Yeah, it's constantly back and forth with those two.
Well, in this case, it was for the yelling and destroying her Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
But I mean, I again, show me the scene where Shannon is yelling and screaming. That was
Yeah.
the word that they used, the screaming. I don't see it.
But it's always exaggerated with these ladies, especially with Heather. It's never a discussion. It's always an attack. It's always you are yelling and you're going crazy and you're threatening me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I told you guys earlier, and I'm going to say it again. I am the last person that will defend Heather Dubrow in any situation. I just have no words to describe her. But in this particular situation, yes, I don't think she should have attacked. Obviously, Shannon is in a very vulnerable place right now and doesn't want to talk about 4 weeks ago when they yelled at each other. She wants to talk about the situation that's going on right now with her husband. And so Heather shouldn't have brought up that other stuff. But at the same time, do you think that Shannon kind of attacking Heather in her own home is misplaced aggression, like Heather was saying, from the stuff she's dealing with at home?
Do you think, though, that we can use the word attack?
Yeah,
Right.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Because I personally don't think Shannon attacked her, even though her words were very pointed. And I personally feel like she didn't have a place in her home, showing
Right.
up unannounced,
Right,
accusing
that's the
her of
point.
something that she could not exactly verify.
You need to be more careful with your words. True, you can't go into someone's house and accuse them of things.
Right.
You come
I
in
agree.
unannounced and just come in, you know,
Yeah.
just...
You really can't.
Yeah, so I definitely kind of saw where Heather was coming from when she said, this problem isn't with me.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it was Tamra who went to Heather and kind of continued to tell up to the... And obviously, if you tell Heather, she's going to gossip about it.
Right.
That's why Tamra shouldn't have been the one to tell Heather.
Right.
It's it's Tamra's fault, not Heather's fault.
I'm probably going to eat my words because I said that I would probably do what she did and go to the house and just confront her. But at the same time, I feel like Shannon set herself up for immediate failure by
Absolutely.
doing that. Because, what is Heather going to do? You're coming into my house. She came to my house. She attacked me in my house. She was screaming at me in my house. So, I
Right.
mean, it's just like, that is just not I guess it isn't a good idea, but how many times do we need to see these women go eat?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's better than
Exactly.
seeing them at the lunch cafe that they always go to. But what we did get out of the discussion between Shannon and Heather is that Tamra is a skunk in the barnyard. And that, Heather
I still
basically
love
said that if you have a problem, it's not with me, it's with Tamra. That's
Right.
just how I found out about it. You need to go talk to Tamra.
A skunk with bangs. What did you think of the
Yeah,
bangs?
we don't love the bangs.
No.
Nah,
she
no.
Looks
looks
much better in the
older.
confessionals.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still like Tamra. I don't think she should have told Heather, but I think it might have been a way for, since Heather and Tamra were just making up, I feel like it was Tamra's way of getting on Heather's good side again by arming her with this information about Shannon.
Right.
And when you feel close to someone, it just kind of slips. But I thought her intentions were good with, saying we can relate on the same level, and I don't know.
Well, that was the other thing that I think also hurt Shannon a lot was Heather telling her that Tamra called her basically an alcoholic that has a drinking problem,
That's too far.
and also telling her that she's a mess right now.
Right, but it was taken out of context because when Tamra talked about it, she said, I kind of feel bad for her. I see myself in her. She drinks too much. She's too stressed out. It's not like she was saying, like, this chick's a drunk. You should see her. She's out. She's stumbling home. Like, she's a mess. She felt bad for her.
Right.
Right. I mean, Tamra, it definitely seemed like she handled it delicately, but at the same time, that's personal information that I don't want my enemies to know about me.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, again, Tamra said that they were enemies. Those are her words. She knows that they're enemies. I don't know if they really are enemies. They're adversaries. But I mean, whatever. But so she shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
And Tamra wouldn't want that done to her. Feeding
Exactly.
information.
Yeah. And going back to the point about Shannon kind of showing up unannounced at Heather's house, I was just thinking, Heather is a lot stronger of a arguer than Shannon is, and she definitely is just a stronger personality, and she will overtake everything, and she will look down on you while she does it. So for her to kind of go on Heather's turf and put herself in that position where she is already inferior to whatever Heather has to say, and she's vulnerable, she's in shambles, really upset about her husband, I just felt like you said, that's 100% setting herself up for failure. That was not going to go well.
That's so true about Heather, though. She's like the Russian in the Rocky.
Yeah.
It's like you will lose
Yeah,
if you're
it's-
trying to fight Heather Dubrow. She knows the right things to say. She will cut you with words
Yeah.
so
Right.
quickly and make you feel this
Like, who has
little-
ever won? Who has ever left?
No one.
Exactly.
They're all afraid to take her.
Yeah.
And she's handed out one apology, and that was she didn't even apologize for the real issue.
Yeah.
She apologized for talking to Eddie about a baby that had nothing to do with the real problem. Who knows?
Vicki has it right, though. You can't fight. You just snore. And speaking
Okay, so before we move on, our girl, Maria Menounos, has a new book out, The Every Girl's Guide to Diet and Fitness. It's officially summer now. I just have to go ahead and say, which is kind of terrifying if you haven't started your diet and fitness plan already for the summer.
I just had a Kit Kat. We just had popcorn.
Yeah, I just ate a whole bag of popcorn. But anyways, it's a really great book because it isn't about that crash course diet. It's more about, you know, having an active lifestyle and just consistently doing good things for your body and that sort of stuff.
There's really good recipes in there too.
Lots of recipes.
Greek recipes that are so good.
And it's doing very well. New York bestseller. So
it's a great book. You know, lots of good advice in there. So be sure to check that out, everyone.
Yes, indeedy. Okay, so
we talked about Shannon going to Heather's. So let's pick up where Lizzie and Danielle come over to Shannon's for some holistic oil treatments or whatever it was.
Fake excuse just to get people to talk.
I know. Lizzie and Danielle are just, we're 10 episodes in and they're still irrelevant.
We still don't know them.
Yeah, I still don't know anything about them. It just feels so produced that they're inserted into these different conversations that they don't really belong.
Right. And the only thing Shannon seems to be happy about is these holistic treatments that she's always talking about. She had a big smile on her face talking about these oils.
Yeah.
And we continue to learn that Lizzie wants to have a baby.
Right.
And that's it.
And she said that for the past, 5 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, she has Sun Kitten swimwear, and she was a former Miss USA.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the only thing that this scene really told me was that Shannon is just constantly looking for someone to support her or someone to at least give her a little sympathy. Like she just wants someone to console her for 1 second. But the thing that's weird to me is that she's always going to Lizzie and Danielle and they never give her anything. Like even at Shannon's party, Lizzie kind of threw Shannon under the bus when she brought it up to Heather when she walked in the room about, okay, are we going to talk about what's going on here? Obviously, this girl is not on your team, Shannon. We need to stop feeding her more information that she's just going to go and tell Heather.
It seems so obvious to all of us watching that Lizzie is not on her team. Like even when Lizzie was walking into her house, she's like, here we go, some more holistic crap, whatever. But Lizzie is also very true to Heather. She will fight for Heather wherever.
And I don't get that. Was there something that's happened between the two of them to where she feels more connected to Heather? Because she spent more time with Shannon, it seems like to me.
Nothing really that we've seen.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't they have that play date?
Yeah, but that was it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that's the end all. I'm just saying that was the only time they really had a one-on-one.
Right.
It seems like it, but who knows? They could have. Heather could have brought her into the show or something.
A lot goes on, especially with the texting. I think in between shooting.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they're all talking about each other, and who are they going to talk about? They're going to talk about Shannon, and Lizzie's not going to be going around talking about Heather.
Right.
Yeah. Well, my favorite part of the entire episode was when Shannon kind of confronted Danielle about her comment.
Oh my god.
What was it? What was it? I don't even remember.
Shannon started talking about the conversation that Heather had, and she's like, and I can't believe that she would even say that I have a drinking problem. Like, I only have a little bit of vodka each time. And then Danielle's like, I don't know.
Danielle said, well, if I drank just straight vodka, I'd be on my ass or whatever it was.
And she's like, it's never straight vodka. It's just a shot.
She was like, I think Danielle needs to shut up.
Yeah, it got a little feisty in there, and I think they edited a lot of it out, but it turned into Shannon calling Danielle judgmental.
Right.
Yeah. Message to Shannon. Don't invite this girl into your house. Don't bother. She's not even worth having on the show because she doesn't provide anything, and then she's in your house making you seem like a drunk on national television. She's not even necessary. I mean,
she never talks, but the one time she does, she is basically judging her for something she's really upset about, obviously.
On the other hand, if 3 people tell you that you drink a lot,
that might be a sign.
You drink a lot.
I don't know. But I really, going back to what you're saying, the way Shannon was really looking for that sympathy, I felt like I've been on the receiving end of that too, where you just really want someone to connect with you and they're just not gonna care. They don't care enough. They're not on your team. And I mean, goes back to her wanting to feel so needed and connected and obligated, just with somebody. I feel like at this point Shannon has all these angles of just like trying to make a connection. It just keeps failing for her. I really feel for her.
I guess also, but she is in a very fragile state, and she needs someone to be there for her.
Yeah.
She needs a shoulder to cry on, and she's not finding that anywhere.
She doesn't have anyone she can trust. She doesn't have that support system with her husband. She doesn't have it with Tamra right now because she feels, betrayed by her. And she obviously doesn't have it with Heather. And Vicky's off in Mexico with Brooks. She's like, oh man, I guess I'll call Lizzie and Danielle over here.
But are these real friends? These women?
I don't think
not.
so. But going back into her fragile state throughout this whole episode and throughout pretty much the whole season so far, and we saw it from the very beginning with her and David about how it's kind of on the rocks. Things haven't been the same since they had their kids. They basically are only married because of the kids. But she mentioned something in this episode about how her parents got divorced, and she remembered how hard that was for her to experience when growing up. But what's worse though? Do you think getting a divorce is worse, or living in this miserable marriage that's really hard for your kids to watch? It's not setting good examples. They're always doing passive aggressive comments across the kitchen with the kids running around. Like, what do you think is worse? Do you think she should get a divorce?
It is hard to say.
Because I personally think that getting a divorce would be easier, but then you have to factor in morals and like religious reasons and the well-being of the kids and wanting them to not have a broken home like they did, because I imagine that was damaging enough for her to want to stay in this miserable situation.
Right.
Yeah, and I think part of it is that Shannon lives a certain lifestyle, and if that marriage were to end, she'd have to adjust greatly, and in the way she would take care of her kids as well.
I think Shannon is the breadwinner in the family, though.
What is she doing?
She comes from a wealthy family. She went to. Do you remember her bragging about cotillion when she was younger and having manners, and David not having?
Well, she's got money in the bank.
Yeah, she has money, but he is bringing in a lot of money as well. Regardless, they're a wealthy family, and it shouldn't be about the money. It should be about their happiness, their individual happiness, and also the happiness of their kids, obviously.
Yeah.
But either way, it's hard.
There are a lot of people who remain married in these arrangements.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's just an example of one of them. The same way certain people have open marriages, there are other people who are just together to be together, whether it be for finances and things like that. I'm not saying they're not broke, but it could just be an example of one of those marriages, and they happen at all different economic levels and ages, and that might be it. But I mean, to go on for the rest of your life like that.
I know, for the sake of the kids, and those kids are pretty young. They have at least 10 more years.
At least.
Probably.
And that a lot of times can be way worse than having divorced parents, is to be in a miserable household where both parents are equally as unhappy. Your mom's always crying, always looks like she's about to break down at any moment. So I don't know. It's definitely a case-by-case situation, so it's not always 100% one way or the other.
Early in the episode, she described the way that David is when he comes home. There's like his eyes, they light up when he sees his kids, and then immediately when he sees her, he goes to black.
Yeah. And they don't even touch. Like, that was really...
They didn't touch each
other. Because
you
want someone to, come home and express that they love you, or at least give you a hug.
Some sort of embrace.
They never touch.
They never do. And they sleep in separate beds, and they have ever since they first got married when she had the cough. Seems like a silly...
She claims every once in a while they'll sleep in the same bed, but that's questionable.
Yeah.
And then,
we all saw that awkward time. He got a hotel room 20 minutes away, and they barely knew how to interact with each other alone.
She's like, I need another drink.
That juxtaposed with Heather talking about needing a wider bed to accommodate all of her kids in the new house.
Yeah. I
mean, those two are on completely two different sides, but I thought that was really obnoxious. Do we have to hear about this?
Well, Heather and Terry are just like two peas in a pod. They it's so crazy to me how their marriage, it just works so well because they're such terrible people together. And they're totally on the same page with that. Like, even when Shannon was over at Heather's, you just see him in the background kind of just like...
Yeah,
that was
obnoxious.
Yeah, and then Heather said that because their house is smaller right now.
Yeah, it's a mansion. You live in a mansion.
Children could hear them fighting.
Excuse me, with your loft and your 5 bedrooms.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Please. I actually really like the house that she's in, but there's too much stuff all over the walls. You could tell. And Did you notice that there's a D hanging? And I think that was the same D that they had in their like underground garage in their previous house.
Really, I didn't notice it.
Yeah, it was by the side by like those records that were on the wall, and that's crazy to me to take something from your
Garage
your
and put it in your living room. Yeah.
She probably has no space for it. Else, I'm
it in
sure she
storage.
has storage,
Yeah.
like probably 5 storage rooms.
Or maybe they just
filled.
got a duplicate.
Yeah, they had
These.
like a wax paper over those records. I guess they couldn't display who the names of who were on the book.
Yeah.
But I mean, we know that Terry's brother is pretty. And whose other records could they be? Maybe Heather has a secret career. We'll have to learn about this one.
Oh no.
No, thank you.
Look into that. All right, well, let's get into Tamra and so at the same time, we kind of have a back and forth between Tamra and Shannon at dinner, and Heather at dinner with Terry, obviously, and Lizzie. And her husband Christian doesn't come because he has stomach flu, apparently.
Did
That was
anyone
so
miss
awkward.
him? Did anyone miss him?
She's like, don't touch me, don't hug me. I'm like, you don't need to be here then.
At that point, it
Fucking
probably should have just been Heather and Lizzie, but
Yeah.
But let's talk about Tamra and Shannon first. So obviously Shannon feels really bad because she's like, oh man, Shannon knows the truth. So
Right.
she kind of is faced with the decision of whether or not she should own up to it and tell her that it was her that did it, or kind of be like, place Heather as a liar. But she chooses to take the higher route and owns up to it and says that it was a conversation after they had lunch about the email and about all of that stuff.
She also frames it as she brought it up to Heather to tell her to lighten up on Shannon and like to cut her some slack.
Yeah,
Which we don't know.
So do we
for
believe
sure.
that? Do we believe that?
I think Tamra has a way of twisting things around to work in her favor and to make her look better.
Right. Well, both of these women, when they spoke to, whether it was Shannon or Lizzie, they both made it sound like it was like really like not even a minute worth of conversation. It was just like, yeah, and like, she's just like, they just brought it up. Like there's some email from her husband to her, and they really made it sound like it was nothing. And that's like downplaying right there is guilt.
Guilt, yep.
Right.
I mean, let's be real. If you're going to give the tea on someone, you're going to really, like,
But why does that
Answer,
even
question,
come
answer.
up in a discussion at your dinner party? Mutual
yeah.
friends, I suppose. The OC must be pretty small in
Yeah.
terms of the circles there. I imagine everyone
Right,
knows
yeah.
everyone a little bit, so.
Or at least like who they are, and
Right.
everyone's trying to make a name for themselves in one way or the other.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still want to know how the whole thing about Heather talking about it got back to David. It was weird to me that Shannon got a text from David about it, as opposed to like someone else in the neighborhood.
Do you think that's contrived for the story?
I think so, maybe.
Could be.
Maybe because it's so unanswered. And they
Yeah.
never address
Yeah,
it again or
yeah,
anything. We
I
don't see
definitely
camera.
think so.
If David is in a place and Heather's in a place, why aren't there cameras there?
That would be a great question to send in for the reunion episodes, To
Yeah.
get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, because I think it's not one of those things that's. I feel like it is important to know how he knows that,
Right.
as opposed to. But Heather did admit to Lizzie about gossiping about it. She said it only lasted a minute, but a minute's a long time when you're just, nonchalantly mentioning that Shannon's in a rough spot in her life.
That was also the first time that we see Lizzie kind of question something that Heather has done. So she's like, yeah, that's kind of crossing the line to be bringing it up at dinner. And that's like
Yeah.
Lizzie's first time forming an opinion that's not pro-Heather.
Right.
Well, Lizzie did that in the confessional, though, not to Heather's
Right,
face.
not to her
Yeah.
face.
And I feel like she's done that with everyone else. Everything she always says that's questioning what someone's doing is always in the confessional. It's never out in the open in front of people.
Sneaky
So what does
Lizzie.
that tell you about
There's
Lizzie?
a skunk in the barnyard.
Which one? Yeah, I don't know about Lizzie. I feel like I need to see her do something.
We need to know more about her than
Yeah.
that she used to do pageants. That
Yeah.
literally is all I know about her. And wants a baby girl.
Once baby girl and husband's nowhere to be found usually.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she has opinions on this other woman, but she's not involved. And the thing that kills me is that she keeps bringing up this issue with Vicki that is nothing.
Right.
It was literally like a comment or two. Like, we're on episode 10. It was on what, episode 1 and 2, so we're looking at like 8 episodes previous.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Is she a one-season housewife?
We
What does it
talked
look
about
like?
this last week. I told you I think she needs to up the drama a bit.
Yeah.
She's not even trying to be more dramatic, but whatever.
Wow.
She's on the show for a reason, you know?
And
Kill some time.
And I don't think Danielle's going to venture on much past season 10 either.
Oh, jeez. Danielle.
Unnecessary. So what else can we talk about with these women?
I
Vicki?
think we need to talk more about the Tamra and Shannon dinner.
Yeah.
Did you think that Tamra was being genuine or being sincere with how bad she felt about what she did to Shannon? Because Shannon was like, "You betrayed me. I'm really disappointed. I don't know if I can ever trust you again." But Tamra does seem like she cares. Well, I guess maybe because now she's caught, so it's like.
Right. Well, if you're a halfway decent person, you own up to it. You really have to, and that's really honesty is the best policy with relationships like this.
And she owned it immediately, which is commendable of her.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, what can she do?
Right.
She's caught red-handed. And I know she wants to have a sincere relationship with Shannon, and she feels like she ruined it. And I kind of think she did, too. And I think Shannon is at the point of no return with Tamra, too.
I was just about to ask, do you think that Shannon is going to eventually forgive Tamra for what she did?
I think she had been warned by Vicki before about being able to fully trust Tamra. And I think everyone likes Tamra or wants to like Tamra, but Tamra has those kind of bonehead moments, like where it's like a Homer Simpson moment.
Right.
Like, I shouldn't have said that, but I did.
Right. That kind of goes back to what I was saying last week, like when she was chatting with Heather about like the email. She really probably shouldn't have said it. It was a lousy thing to do. But like she didn't mean it in a bad way, and it caught up with her. And they usually and I've been in that situation, you know.
Yeah.
It's not done in a hateful way, but you get caught up when when we get information, insider information. Sometimes we like to talk about it, and it's is it the right thing to do? No.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I'm not Tamra.
Yeah.
Find something better to talk about.
Right.
Yeah, it is hard to do it. They call someone a friend.
Yeah.
Right.
It's one thing if it's like, okay, we both mutually don't care for this person, they're lousy, but and then turn around and you're like calling her a new friend.
Right. And then the only other thing I got from the Heather-Lizzie argument, or not argument, but dinner, was that Heather is just so desperate for someone. She's like trying to convince her of her story. She's not just telling her it. Yeah. She's like trying to persuade her that that's what happened. And
because she's always right. In her mind, she can do no wrong.
Right.
She wasn't even apologetic about the fact that she brought it up. Like, to her, it's no big deal. But to me, it's out of place. It doesn't belong at your dinner.
Right.
Do you think that Heather is going to ease up on Shannon now that she knows the reality of her situation at home?
No, because even at the dinner with Lizzie, she still was not apologetic. She's like, I hate that and she said after the girl left, basically sobbing, she sent her a text message. I'm sorry you're having a hard time, but
this isn't about me.
It's not me.
Yeah.
It's just Cole. She's an ice queen.
Yeah, she really is. I don't know. She might try to like have this front in future episodes where she's trying to take the bigger person, but then she's going to go and tell everyone, I'm being really nice to Shannon, just so that people think she's nicer than she is.
Do you guys think that Heather was wrong for throwing Shannon out?
I think she was wrong for bringing up a completely different situation than what Shannon was there for. I don't think she was wrong necessarily for kicking her out, to how things had blown up already, and it just wasn't the time or the place. And you don't come into someone's house and bring all that in there with them, and with the kids there. Granted, the kids can't hear them probably in that big house.
And they don't care.
But still, she's there, mother to mother, woman to woman. She should, haven't tried to bring it in her house.
Well, maybe Shannon needs to relax because she's going down to Mexico with Vicki and Brooks. They were looking at some beautiful stones. I don't know what they were doing, and getting a massage. Vicki really hasn't done anything these last 2 episodes, but Mexico looks beautiful, so we'll be seeing more of that next week.
Well, she grew up there. That was her dad's condo that he's had there, and she's had all of her husbands there and all of her kids there. So I think she felt very connected there. She's very at peace.
Right, and the next episode we'll be seeing Shannon and David join them, which will be interesting considering the state that they're in right now.
We'll see if Shannon drinks too much on this trip because she's away. We'll see. Let's get into some news and gossip real quick.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Speaking of Shannon and her heavy glass, she went on Watch What Happens Live last week, and I'm sure many of you saw it, but just to kind of pull it all together with what we're talking about, her relationships, her husband, her friendships, she's saying that the whole show and her relationship with her husband on it is absolutely, it's just too tough to watch. And she says, she's growing from this. Apparently, she says, I realize that nagging and complaining isn't going to get me what I want in my relationship with my husband. So I've absolutely made adjustments, and it's been good.
That's awesome. I love that.
Sometimes it takes looking at yourself on TV
Right.
to straighten up.
And she claims that's why she wanted to do the show. She kind of wanted to see her shortcomings and what she's doing correct from an outside perspective.
I think that's awesome because every week we've talked about, well, maybe if she didn't nag him so much, they wouldn't be. But also, not that he doesn't have faults of his own,
Right.
but it's definitely like a mutual butting of heads.
Yeah.
And so it's great that she's making those realizations. I'm just hoping he's doing the same.
Yeah. Shannon went on to address the drinking habits that she has. She says, when I drink a shot of Grey Goose and I put Pellegrino in it and make about 2 or 3 drinks out of a shot. So everyone that thinks I'm drinking straight vodka all the time, I'm not. I actually dilute the drinks and I don't drink that much. So that's it.
Good to know.
We know
and
now.
that's true, though, because if you think about, I feel like every time I see her order, she always orders a shot of Grey Goose and a Pellegrino. So
Yeah.
she's not lying. Maybe she's drinking a whole shot.
Who
I don't
knows?
know.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
well,
I'm not
she's-
too concerned about it.
She seemed very pleasant on Watch What Happens Live, and she looks good. She looks a little bit more like she had some life to her, so
Gotcha.
we wish her the best. All right, let's talk about some predictions real quick.
Predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I want to talk about the Mexico trip for when Shannon and David go down there with Vicki. Vicki, this episode talked to Brooks about how she wants to be the person who Shannon can go to. She doesn't want to spread it to anyone else. She doesn't want to start any drama with it. She just wants to be there. Do we think that's going to be the case for Vicki, knowing her history?
I think Vicki it could be a good friend for her because Vicki is very mature, very conscious of other people, especially when she invites you into her close-knit circle. So I think that they might have a good relationship.
I agree, and I hope for her that she can hit it off with one of these women.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want
Yeah.
Vicki to be that support system that she's so desperate for right now.
And she can relate so much to a marriage that's on the rocks and trying to keep things alive. So hopefully that it works out for her.
Yeah, I agree.
Hopefully this trip to Mexico works out for Shannon and David. I mean, we did see a lot of tears in the preview for next week, but sometimes getting away, not just down the street, but to a different area might,
Hopefully we can rekindle something.
Rekindle.
here.
I predict that we're going to see more from David's perspective. David will probably talk to Brooks, or maybe we'll get some more, from his end, what he's dealing with, because there must be more to the grand picture anyway. And I feel like it's so one-sided with Shannon that we need to have like the girls one-on-one and the guys one-on-one.
Completely agree.
So
Right there with
hopefully
you.
we'll see it. We don't know. We'll know this time next week, though.
Yep, we will.
All right. I'm your host, Grant Rutter, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter at Grants__rants and Instagram at GrantMichaelR. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Tiff's Tweets, TWEETZ.
Cute.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sterling Cates.
That'll do it for us. Thank you for
Thanks for
checking
tuning
us
in.
out.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.